I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Hey everybody, I'm back again with another round of questions regarding my atheism. So let's get right to it. We have GeorgeDoctanian, and he asks several questions. First is, as an atheist, do you have a distaste for just religion or theism in general? And that's a good question because there is a distinction between the two. Now, there is my personal distaste for religion and theism in myself, which I have a disdain for both. As for theism in general, it kind of depends on the path that a person has in getting to their theism and how it affects them in other ways. And I'll get to that in a second. Now, as for religion, I've always had a personal disdain for religion in that it never sat well with me. Even as a believer, even as a religious youth, religion never sat well with me. It was never natural to me. Maybe it was my natural skepticism that made it not sit well with me, but the act of prayer, worship, describing something or someone with passion that I never seen, that type of thing never sat well with me even as a believer. But as an adult, there are some things about religion that I do find very distasteful. The fact that a lot of religious people diminish human achievement through the religion. Medical scientists, doctors that do a lot of work don't get credit because, God's great and God did this miracle when actually it was someone who studied hard and did good things that helped someone, not, in my view, not a God from the outside. I think that people don't get enough credit for the things they do, and that credit is given to this God, and I find that very distasteful and very dehumanizing. Other things like praising baby Jesus or crying out for help and relying on help for something outside of yourself that many religious individuals do, I find that personally distasteful. So those would be some examples of individual things that I find distasteful. And I want to distinguish that from religion in general because there are some things that religion has brought about that I love. There's the artistic aspect of religious influence, I think, has been a great thing. Architecture, sculpture, painting, music and dance, I think this stuff is fabulous. I'm glad it's here. These things were inspired by the religion of individuals, and so I cannot diminish the beauty that has come from some aspects of religion. Chamber music, gospel, spirituals, these things are powerful things, and they affect me deeply as long as I don't listen to the words. Once I listen to the words that are being said, I'm taking out of it because I find them very silly. But overall, the artistic aspect of it, I'm very happy that we have in our world. Okay, George continues, if I couldn't eliminate but reform religion, what would I reform? Now, there are a lot of individual things that, you can say you want to reform about religion, sexism, homophobia, and things like that. But I think the one thing I would reform about religion in general is the part of religion that makes people want to apply it to others. I think if we got rid of that aspect of religion, that religion had to apply to people outside of the individual, a lot of these other things would disappear. Sexism, homophobia, battles over homelands and things like that, those things would not exist, I believe, or at least not to the degree they do, if people didn't feel the need and the push to apply their religion to other people. Separation of church and state would be obvious to everyone if people didn't have that urge to make their religious views apply to everyone else. See, next, George asks, as an African American, have you felt isolated and alienated by other black people, considering the black population is very religious? Short answer, yes. The reaction from black individuals when my atheism comes up is much more severe than it is from non-blacks. That's just the way it is. Maybe it's because Atheism is much more foreign, it is much more alien to the black community than it is to other communities, but the reaction is a lot more severe. So right off the bat, there's a bigger wall that happens in the conversation. So over the years, my black social circle has diminished because as we get older, these type of things are more fundamental in our lives, and we get more rooted in these aspects, and that causes a rift. When I first went into college, my sphere of black friends grew immediately as we bonded in the college experience, and I socialized with a group of black fraternity members. So I had an immediate swelling of my sphere of black friends, but that swiftly diminished as my atheism became more prominent and it came up more often. Mainly, I believe, because none of us had the ability to get past this kind of fundamental part of ourselves, and so there was just kind of through attrition, there's a separation that happened. Now, this ties in briefly with Badass 447's question, who says, when you were dating, did religion play a big part in your decision to keep seeing someone? Religion played a big part in my social circle, and so the people I dated came out of that social circle, and so it was affected. I was never a big kind of flighty dater. I was more of a long-term relationship type of person. So when I looked at someone, when it came to dating, it was whether or not I thought this was going to go somewhere. So religion had an effect on that. Let's get back to George's next question, which is, do I feel intellectually superior to theists? Not in general. Individual theists I may feel intellectually superior to, but generally as a category of theism, I don't feel intellectually superior to them. Mainly because theism is only one aspect of a person, much like, say, smoking is an aspect of a person. I happen to think smoking is pretty stupid, but I don't think that I am intellectually superior to smokers. I just happen to think that they are people who do one thing that I particularly think is stupid. It doesn't make them, in general, less intelligent than me. So religion or theism is the same way. It's just one aspect. I may not think it's a particularly smart thing. I may not think it's a particularly brilliant aspect of a person's life, but that doesn't bring them entirely down just because of their theism. Now, how that theism affects their way of thinking may change my opinion. For example, I've come across, and I'm sure many of you have, come across people who have a lack of intellectual curiosity because of their theism. They will say, I don't know why we're exploring space, why we're trying to look into genetics, why we care about global warming, whether or not politically you agree with that. Why do we care about global warming when God is just going to take care of all of this? Asking of those questions is just tampering in God's domain. We don't need to know these things. Just let God handle it. Those people I do feel intellectually superior to because their theism, and more likely their religion, has diminished their intellectual curiosity and their desire to better themselves intellectually. And so those people, those individuals, I do feel intellectually superior to. It may not be a great quality that I have, but it's there. Just truth be told. And his last question is, what does two-fisted atheism mean? And I'm glad you asked, because a lot of people may see that and they think, oh, this person's going to be really combative. He's just going to be coming out swinging at people, two-fisted atheism. And that's not the case. But the fact is, a lot of public atheists, a lot of the marquee atheist people out there are very combative, very insulting, very arrogant. Let's admit it, even though I agree with them and may support them, they are assholes. It's a fact. I'm not happy about it, but a lot of them are assholes. And I try not to be one. I try to be friendly. I try to be courteous. I have a combative streak in me, and you will see it, I'm sure. But I try to be as accommodating to people and their point of view as possible in a courteous, level-headed way. Sometimes people mistake that for softness, for weakness in my position, and my desire to defend myself, and that can't be further from the truth. Two-fisted atheism is kind of my way of saying I may be friendly and I may be courteous, but I will stand my ground and I will defend my position. So whatever you do, don't mistake my kindness for weakness. Okay, that's going to do it for questions today. Thank you very much for continuing your communication. Feel free to add any more questions you have in the comments below or back on my original call for questions video. I will keep doing this on a regular basis. It may slow down to more once or twice a week, not so often, but keep the questions coming. Remember, in the comment threads, I am monitoring it, so please try to stay courteous and continue a conversation. Don't just troll, don't just be combative. Ask questions, welcome answers, keep the communication open. Thank you very much. See you next time.
That's my job. That's what I do. I don't lose. I win.
Is there no one on this planet to even challenge me?
Maybe you came by to congratulate me on last night's victory.